guys and welcome back to my channel. So in today's video I am going to be giving you a list of my top favourite historical fiction book recommendations. Most of these are featuring around the World War II era because that is personally my favourite to read about. So I'm not really sure how many books I have here. I think I have about 8, but the title may say 10, I don't know, because yeah. So lately I've been talking a lot about historical fiction on my channel in vlogs, in videos, in everything, because it's just been what I've been reading a lot of and what I've been in the mood to read a lot of, and I have gotten some comments saying that I've put you in a historical fiction mood and I've made you like buy historical fiction and read historical fiction, and that is like pretty much my goal in life. So I'm going to be giving you some of my favourite books, the synopsis and like why I love them and stuff. And yes, let's get into that. Okay, so I'm going to start with my favourite ever book, regardless of historical fiction or not. It is my favourite book of all times, and I'm just going to put it out here. There is 10 books, by the way, and they're not in order of favourites. This one is because it's my absolute favourite, but after that I love them all equally. Okay, so the first one up is The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna. This features around 2 sisters in Nazi-occupied France during World War II. And they just deal up with the war in very different ways. Isabel is very outspoken and delivers like anti-Nazi propaganda and is very out there. Vianne takes a more quiet approach and she just tries to survive. She does what she can to survive and look after her daughter until her husband can come home because he has been taken prisoner of war. There's so many elements to this book, so many amazing things, so many heartbreaking moments and characters that you will never forget. And you also have a dual timeline to like present day, but present day is like the 1980s, and we are featuring an old woman who is recounting her life during the war and going to an award ceremony, and we need to kind of figure out who this is and why this is happening. It is amazing. I cannot recommend this book enough, and if you have not read it, please read it, because if it's one book that you should read in your lifetime, it's this one. Also, this is going to be turned into a movie. It was supposed to come out in December, but obviously with all of the current world status, it's probably going to be delayed, but I cannot wait for when it comes out. The next one I finished pretty recently, and it is The Sisters of Auschwitz by Roxane van Apron. This one, honestly, I was in it for the story more than I was in it for the writing. This again follows 2 sisters in the Netherlands, I believe. During World War II, and they are hiding and they are Jewish, and they take in people and they rescue them, and then, as you can guess, it's called The Sisters of Auschwitz, so eventually they do get found out and we just get to see them live their lives and just be so incredibly brave. I am shocked at the length of this book because it's less than 300 pages, but honestly they fit in so many storylines, so many amazing characters, plot, everything. So good. The next one I'm pretty sure everybody has heard of, but it's The Diary of Anne Frank by Anne Frank. Anne Frank is just so incredibly amazing and brave, and she was in hiding during World War II in the Netherlands with her family in a secret annex above her father's workplace. Honestly, this broke my heart while reading because she was writing like a normal person would write. I'm not saying that she wasn't, of course she was normal, but you wouldn't expect something to be so relatable from a piece of writing, and it's just so beautiful and so impactful because you can see how her life went from being super glamorous and super fun, and she was a very fun girl, and then to being put into hiding where they were risking their lives just by being there. The next one is one that I haven't really seen around BookTube, but I read it at the end of last year, I believe, and it is The Red Ribbon by Lucy Adlington. This book was amazing, and I would definitely recommend this book to people who are maybe only getting into World War II fiction. It's not too graphic, it's not too upsetting, and a lot of the things you kind of need to read between the lines. It doesn't go out and specifically say what is happening. It kind of just like, it says what's happening, but if you didn't know, then it wouldn't leave you in absolute floods of tears, is what I'm saying, but it still makes a huge impact. This follows 2 girls in a concentration camp, Auschwitz-Birkenau, and they have to deal with regular things that were common in that place, and they get through it by sewing things and getting a job inside, and just The level of friendship in this book and love is just amazing, and it's so inspiring, and I will honestly never forget this book. This book was actually my first read of 2019, and I kind of count it responsible for getting me into historical fiction, and it is In Another Time by Caroline Leach. Again, I haven't seen it around BookTube too much, but at the same time I think it is a little bit more well known. This one features Maisie McCall, and she is in the Timber Corps in Scotland. She is so brave and so strong, and there is also a love interest in here which I found super interesting and intriguing, and it's just amazing. It shows the power of women, and it just shows how much of like a role in World War II the women had, which I think is sometimes skirted over a little bit, but they definitely did have a big role. The next one is Number the Stars by Lois Lowry, and again this is definitely one for younger readers. I'm not saying that I didn't love it, I loved it, but I'm just saying that it's suitable for younger readers, meaning that they do not go around too heavily into graphic details, and it ends up relatively happy. I think that's the only way to describe it. This is a family during World War II, and they're in wartime Copenhagen, and they hide a Jewish girl who they have been friends with for their entire life, and they just look after her and get her safely away, and they come across adventures during the way, and you don't know if they're gonna make it or not. It's very high stakes, but also it's a very, very short book. I read this in about an hour, and honestly it was amazing. I will definitely be rereading it. The next two books are by the same author, and I absolutely adore this author. I plan on reading every single one of their books, and that is Salt to the Sea by Ruta Sepetys. This was honestly such an amazing book. I sped through it in a couple of days. It was so amazing. This actually took part after World War II, and it was on a refugee ship, and there was so many different POVs, so many different characters, and you just fell in love with all of them. Well, bar one, but like, you're not meant to fall in love with him. Anyways, it was just so amazing. Again, the romances that Ruta Sepetys writes are so heartbreaking and so beautiful. Honestly, I cannot even describe how amazing this book is. Also, I think her writing style is super easy to get through. Even her longer books I definitely fly through. It's so amazing. So I would definitely recommend you pick this up. Also, this is actually based around a famous shipwreck of the Wilhelm Gustloff. So as you can guess, there's a lot of heartbreak in here. And we have Between Shades of Grey by Ruta Sepetys as well. Honestly, this was, again, took a very unique point of the war that I actually didn't really know about. And this took place in Lithuania, and they were forced to labour camps by the Red Army. And I actually didn't know about this. I'm very familiar with the Holocaust and the German side of the war, and the evacuation and the British side of the war, but I actually wasn't very familiar with this side of the war. And it was very interesting to read. I fell in love with the characters again. I think it was just the right amount of heartwarming and heartbreaking. I know I'm kind of saying the same thing for all of the books here, but they kind of have a theme. And this is like about a 15-year-old girl, Lena, and she is an artist, and she, when they're in the camp, she gets through by drawing, and then one time a commander, I believe, asks her to draw his portrait, and we can just guess how that goes. It's an amazing book. I actually read this all in one day, and there's also a movie to go with this called Ashes in the Snow. Definitely recommend. Super amazing and super true to the book. The next two are also by the same author, not Ruta Sepetys, but they are by the same author, and it is Heather Morris. And the first one I'm going to talk about is The Tattooist of Auschwitz. I read this at the beginning of 2019, and it just honestly broke my heart. I think this was one of the first Holocaust books that I read that took place during Auschwitz. In Auschwitz, this follows Lil Sokolov in Auschwitz as he manages to keep the romance alive and stay alive during Auschwitz, and it is so amazing, so beautiful, so like, you will fall in love with Lil, you will fall in love with Gita, and you will just not be ready to let go at the end of this book. Also, this is based around a real person, so Lil is actually a real person and was great friends with the author up until he passed away, sadly, in 2005, I believe. Could have been a different year, but as far as I know. The final book on this list is Silka's Journey, or Kilka's Journey, also by Heather Morris. I'm definitely happier with the size of this one because I honestly sped through this in less than 24 hours. So amazing. This follows Kilka, who is actually a character in The Tattooist of Auschwitz. So if you wanted to read them properly, like in the proper order, I would suggest reading The Tattooist of Auschwitz first and then this one. as this follows her life after World War II. During the Auschwitz, she was forced to be a mistress for one of the commanders of Auschwitz, one of the lead Nazis, and then after World War II and after she was liberated, she was actually imprisoned for being a collaborator, which is totally not true because she just had to do what she had to do to survive and she was forced to do it. So it was amazing, it was super impactful. Again, this is so, like, there's again so many elements to this story. It is not boring at all. I have heard a lot recently of controversy over this book because this is obviously based off of a real person, Cecilia Klein, Kilka Klein, but as she had passed away before this book was written and before like she got an opportunity to give her side of the story 100% to the author, a lot of people have said that a lot of it was fabricated and a lot of it was fictionalized. But personally, I didn't find that to be an issue because it was clearly stated in the book that this is a work of fiction based around somebody's life, so it didn't bother me in the slightest. And I like to pretend that this was all real because honestly every part of this broke me, but also just like made me feel so warm and fuzzy at the characters, at the love in the characters, and just the will to live and survive and get through everything as best as possible. Definitely recommend that you pick those up. That is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. Feel free to give it a big thumbs up and like and subscribe down below if you want to stick around to the paperback army. I hope you're having an amazing day or night and that you enjoyed this video. If you decide to pick up any of these books or if you have any other historical fiction books, Rex, leave them down below. I love getting comments. It's my favourite part of the day. So I will talk to you again very soon in the next video. Keep your head in the clouds and a book in your hand.